She got there that day and she was so beside herself. She just kept telling us, no, I'm not staying here. She's on the floor, on her knees, and she's got two pieces of mirror in her hand. And she's just going like this into her stomach. And there's blood on her pants, on her shirt. It was everywhere. And I remember just almost going in shock. The next day we woke up and we didn't go to school. It was yelling down the hallway, everybody get outside their rooms right now, line up. Randy sat us down and he said, so what happened last night? I don't want you talking amongst each other about it. I don't want you talking about her. It never happened. And they said she thought she was going to go home. Well, she's not going home. She's going to a worse place now. And we were like, terrified. Like, what? Like a worse place than this? How is that possible? I remember at that moment, I was like, this is not right. This place is evil. And these people are not right.
This place is the Recreation Retreat, situated in an isolated, dusty patch of northern Arizona desert in the tiny town of Fredonia.
Randy is owner Randy Soderquist, a licensed therapist and creator of self-help YouTube videos.
Recreation is a boarding school for troubled girls, which promises psychological counseling, drug treatment plans, and physical exercise according to its website. But the remote facility is attracting increasing controversy as some former residents, who are now grown women, allege they were physically and mentally abused there as teens.
They claim they were held against their will by Soderquist and other staff.
Forced to perform manual labor and forbidden to speak to each other and to their parents. Their stories are strikingly similar.
When I was younger, I was smoking weed and drinking. Nothing too crazy, normal rebellious teenager stuff. My parents had told me that they were surprising me to a trip to Vegas. And then on the way back, we were still kind of in a deserty area. My parents, they had pulled over to this random lodge. And I thought maybe they were lost and they were asking for directions. But they were actually talking to a facility owner, Randy. And Randy opened up my car door and he was like, hi, Delaney, your parents have sent you to a facility. Can you please get out of the car? I was in total shock. I was very close with my sister and I had this anklet she had made me. And I remember they made me cut it off. You can't have anything that you had before you got there. It's you're kind of stripped of your individuality and all the possessions that you have. You can't leave, you have no access to any phones, you have no access to even call the police. The facility essentially is in the middle of nowhere. It's in a really small town. There's not a lot of people living there. We're told the whole town knows you're bad kids and that your parents sent you here, and if you try to run away, they'll turn you in.
It was around 3 a.m. and I remember the light turned on and there was just two random people in my room. It was a man and a woman, and they told me they were there to take me away. They said, we're going to take you to a school in Arizona. We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And I just remember having panic run through my body. Where are my parents? So I was begging for my parents. I just remember hyperventilating and just sobbing and having no idea, no clear thought of what to do or what was going on. They drove me to the airport. They said, if you try to run away, if you say that you've been kidnapped, if you say that we're not your parents, we will handcuff you and you will be driven to Arizona. After 3 days, I caught on pretty quick. You're not allowed to do anything. Can't talk, and you can't go to the bathroom without getting permission. Going through the program, you kind of realize you just have to do whatever they want. That's the only way you're gonna get through it. And they'll draw it out as long as possible until you start to actually believe the words that you're saying, or you sound like you believe it. It's inhumane. It's a form of brainwashing.
Like many of the women who spoke to Inside Edition Digital, Josie and Michaela say they now empathize with their parents, who were allegedly promised help for their child and told to ignore any negative comments from them about Recreation Retreat.
They're telling our parents that we're lying, manipulative children and that, we're just here to get what we want and make their life miserable.
My name is Stephanie, and I am Michaela's mom. Things at home became rather difficult with our daughter Michaela, and at the time she was 15, almost 16 years old, and it didn't seem that anything that we said or did mattered in the way of rules or boundaries. She had cut herself on a full-length mirror, and we were very worried about her. We didn't know if we were going to be burying her or she would end up in jail. We started just looking on the internet, and we came across Recreation Retreat. Everything they said on their site was encouraging equine therapy and counseling, helping you with your troubled teen. And Randy talked about we would have options of bringing her ourselves, or, we could pay an extra fee and have somebody basically come and get her in the middle of the night. We could be there or we could not be there. I could just not see doing that to her. Having complete strangers basically kidnap her in the middle of the night. That was just not an option for us. We told her we were going to a dude ranch for a family weekend, and obviously a lie, but we thought that was the path of least resistance at the time. I remember the cost overall was upwards of $50,000.
After 17 months, Michaela's mother decided to bring her home from Recreation Retreat. The girl wasn't getting any better, her mom says.
She had a lot of resentment. She felt like her parents gave her away. And at 15, 16 years old, I can see how your mind would go there. Michaela's very independent now. I'm proud of her for continuing to fight for what's right. Places like that definitely need more regulations. And I'm just really sorry that I made that decision.
I don't like to hold things against people. And I don't think that my parents are to blame at all. I think that they were taking, I think that they were taken advantage of in a situation where they were very vulnerable. And I admire that they really wanted to help me.
But scars remain, the women said.
I still have nightmares. I have kidnapping nightmares.
The decision of a boarding school, it's an individual decision that comes down to you and your son or daughter talking about what's working and what's not working. So it's important that your son or daughter understand what education really is, what the purpose of education is, to develop a love for knowledge and learning.
A normal day there, you get woken up at 6 a.m. We would do everything. We would do all the cleaning, we would do all the cooking, we did all the landscaping, we did everything. We did a bunch of physical labor when we were there. You would have 10 minutes to get showered, get dressed. That's not a lot of time. The showers were horrible. Our hot water didn't work. I would take cold showers every single day. I would even take cold showers during winter, like when it would snow. So you would all line up in the hall in a line. You'd walk over to the restaurant. We would usually eat this disgusting porridge. That would be typical kind of breakfast. Afterwards, you go back to your room. You do chores again. We had life skills, which was literally just reading out of a self-help book. And then we would have what's called SASG, which is Substance Abuse Support Group. We would be watching Intervention. I don't even know if you know what TV show that is. It's literally just watching other addicts getting high. Then we had Ed Video. And most of the time we would watch Modern Marvels or the History Channel. And that would be our education. And that was a normal treatment. Then you would have lunch, chores again, dinner, chores again. Or sometimes you would just be pulling weeds for the day, and you would do it for hours.
I had been struggling in my current home with my adoptive family. I ended up getting really depressed, and I ended up trying to take my own life. I was 16.
During infrequent therapy sessions at Recreation Retreat, Ellie says she was often mocked and accused of playing the victim.
I remember trying to tell my therapist, and I remember being called a liar, a manipulator. When will these lies end? After that point, I definitely started to lose hope and was like, okay, maybe I won't get help here. I remember I had witnessed a girl in the program start drinking the chemicals that we were to use for our chores. She wanted out. She wanted to leave. I was also taught, do not move, do not touch them. It is not your job. You are to focus on yourself and only yourself. And so very stuck, shocked, seeing her drink that bleach, all I could fathom was saying the staff's name. And so I did, and utter despair. If I did try to talk about what was actually happening, it was quickly dismissed, and I was told I wasn't doing my program properly, or that I wasn't focused on myself, and that I needed to change my mindset and stop blaming others.
Recreation Retreat is a state-licensed Level 3 behavioral health residential facility. According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, such sites must ensure staff are present 24/7, maintain medical records and treatment plans for patients, and provide counseling. But in the last 3 years, Recreation Retreat has been cited at least 16 times by the state for violations, including wrongly using physical force against patients by immobilizing them and bending back their wrists for being, quote, disrespectful, and refusing, quote, to get out of the bed, according to online records. The citations noted that physical restraints were only to be used in emergencies when the patients were committing violence or self-destructive behavior. The Arizona DOHS did not provide additional information on those citations after receiving a written request from Inside Edition Digital, nor did it grant interview requests. Other recreation citations involved failing to keep adequate personnel records, failure to maintain necessary treatment plans for residents, and for transferring a girl to another facility without discharge papers. The facility was ordered to pay fines for some of those infractions, including misusing physical force, according to the citations. Its state license is currently valid, according to online records. The only citation records available online are from the past 3 years.
My name is Meg Applegate. I am the co-founder and CEO of Unsilenced, and I'm also a survivor of institutional abuse. When I was 15, I was abducted in the middle of the night by 2 strangers. And they threw me into the back of an SUV, and we drove off to the airport. And that began my journey of 3.5 years and 2 different facilities. Transporters are very commonly used. We call them gooners, or getting gooned is our term for that. Many times they're woken up in the middle of the night. They're told that we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Sometimes there's handcuffs and blindfolds and zip ties if you try to resist. And the worst part is that these kids are woken up and they truly believe that they're being kidnapped. And the kind of trauma that comes from that is really irreversible. We had survivors of Recreation Ranch reach out to us. The name in itself, Recreation, is actually ironic because, in my opinion, it is recreating. It is, in my opinion, indoctrination. It is breaking you down to recreate you into the way they want you to be, instead of tailoring care to each individual kid. They force it down your throat. They want you to be able to own up to every single thing that has happened to you, traumatic or not, as being your fault. And what it does is break you down. This entire industry started without any regulation, and it grew so quickly that now we're here, 60 years later, trying to retroactively fit legislation to be able to protect kids. A vast majority of the parents believe they're getting kids help. They have come to a point of feeling like they're at the end of their rope and they're scared. These programs are marketing off of that fear, and they're telling them, if you don't do something now, your kids are gonna die. The basis for all of this is profit. Facilities range anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a month.
Recreation Retreat charged parents tens of thousands of dollars, according to some of the former residents. Its website advises parents to sell their cars, their houses, cash out their retirement accounts, or borrow money from relatives and friends to finance stays at Recreation Retreat.
I was 15, hanging out with the wrong people, got involved with the wrong things, started doing a lot of drugs.
Tiana says she didn't receive narcotics rehabilitation at Recreation Retreat.
Our rehabilitation was, you don't do it. There's no doctors that put you on medication or watch you. There's nobody taking your vitals and making sure that you're going through withdrawal. My mom paid a pretty penny, and she didn't mind paying it because she thought that this place was different. They made it seem like they would be able to help every girl individually. It was over $40,000. And then you wonder where it goes because we were the ones doing everything.
My parents highlighted the fact that this was going to be expensive. They pulled out all of my college savings, thousands upon thousands of dollars. And they said, we're doing this because you're going to feel so much better. And I believed that. I was supposed to get therapy once a week. I did not. I had Randy as a therapist. So Randy Soderquist, he was the owner, but he also worked as a therapist. I would get therapy maybe every 3 weeks. And when I say therapy, it was me going into the office, attempting to tell Randy, all right, this is what I was struggling with this week. And he would never take me seriously. He was mocking me. I kind of had to learn how to suppress my anxiety because they constantly were telling me your anxiety is a choice. You don't have an anxiety disorder. That's not a thing. It's all about your perception. If I did have an anxiety attack, I was put in the corner if I was like really showing, or I was like sobbing. So I would learn to suppress it. And by suppressing it, my OCD got worse. And like I had like compulsions and tics, and those tics would get me in trouble too because I would make noises.
We started becoming aware of allegations of abuse at Recreation Retreat about 9 months or so ago, when survivors, past residents of the facility, started contacting our office to let us know about some of the things that had happened to them. These survivors called our office in particular is because our office has been investigating hundreds of these facilities around the country, and these facilities are part of a bigger organization called the Troubled Teen Facilities. Most of the physical abuse were in the form of restraints that went above and beyond. Girls who were sent to RCR because they were having challenges at home, struggles with behavior, struggles with school, to more serious challenges like, self-harm, severe depression, substance abuse. They were there to get help. And these are for girls that needed that extra support and therapy, and it just didn't happen. These tactics have been used for decades. Some of the survivors of RCR have revealed that they were forced to take towels and hit each other with them during group therapy sessions. It's really no different than the isolation and hard labor. It's just another way to exert control over these young women.
The troubled teen business is a multi-billion-dollar industry, according to government figures. It's not federally regulated, and states have rules that vary widely.
There needs to be more regulation. There also has to be awareness. In the past 2 years, various specials that have been on Netflix, and Paris Hilton has done a fantastic job advocating and putting the spotlight on these facilities.
One night when I was 16 years old, I woke up to 2 large men entering my bedroom, asking me if I wanted to go the easy way or the hard way. Thinking I was being kidnapped, I screamed for my parents. And as I was being physically dragged out of my house, I saw them crying in the hallway. They didn't come to my rescue that night. This was my introduction to the troubled teen industry.
A 2-year U.S. Senate investigation that looked into the troubled teen industry found widespread abuse, unsafe conditions, poor mental health care, solitary confinement, and improper restraints in boarding facilities across the country. The 136-page report titled Warehouses of Neglect was released in 2024. Days before leaving office, President Joe Biden signed the Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act. which is designed to increase oversight and transparency at residential youth programs.
There's just a lot of broken children coming out of there, more broken and almost more childlike than when they went in, and they don't know how to talk to anybody.
But former residents began talking among themselves. They formed a social media account called Past Peers. Their group now numbers more than 100, and they are fighting for change.
I'm a 32-year-old woman. I'm no longer a 15-year-old. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't tell about what you guys did to us. You don't get that. You're not going to silence me anymore. The fact is it's still going on today. This very moment, I know that there's a girl in my bed right now who wants to go home and who doesn't want to be brainwashed into thinking she's nothing. And I can't let that happen. I can't sleep at night knowing that that's going on in this world.
This is Inside Edition Digital.